Coach's Corner is your source. Baseball, football, soccer, and hoops. The Coach's Corner has the scoop. It's the Coach's Corner with Andy.
Covering Tri-State sports, it's the Coach's Corner with Andy on 92.1 The GOAT.
It's the Coach's Corner.
Hey, I'm Andy. I am here with Joe Osborne. Joe's actually my cousin. He's my first cousin, so he's like my cousin. He's not like a distant cousin. We grew up together. We played Ninja Turtles together. We've done it all, really, and we're both fans of Washington, the Washington Commanders, or as we like to call them, the Washington Redskins. They'll always be the Redskins in our hearts, right?
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
But I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on here and hanging out with me today. I've been excited for this one. It is Dallas week for Washington, the first Dallas game of the year, and it's in Washington. We're going to get into that in a little bit, but let's tell everybody first, give a little bit of a background of our history of liking the team and, growing up watching Washington football. When did you start actually seriously following the Washington Redskins / Commanders?
Oh man, I don't know. I think I came out of the womb wearing a little Redskins hat or jersey or something. I actually have a Riggins jersey, like a baby Riggins jersey that I don't know where it came from, but I have it. It's in my son's closet now, and it's ancient. So, and I don't think he even played for the team when I was born. I think he was already retired at that point. So, I don't know. I think it was like thrust upon me. I don't know. I ever remember choosing it, but just it's part of life.
Yeah, I hear you. So tell me a little bit about. I think you've told me the story, but do you have a reason behind why Washington and why you stuck with Washington? Did you have a good reason for that, or did you just randomly choose them because they're kind of like the homer team?
I'm a mama's boy. That's why that was my mom's team. So that was my team. But funny enough, I'm actually named after Joe Namath. My father named me after Joe Namath with hopes that I would become a Jets fan, but mama's boy.
That's right. He was the biggest Jets fan I knew. I remember that very, very fondly. You guys always showed up. Every time we showed up to family gatherings, Joe was usually in Redskins gear. Your dad was in Jets gear, and your brother Chuck was in Eagles gear.
Yes, we were an eclectic group when it came to that. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I started watching the Redskins at the time, now the Commanders, due to my mom as well. My mom is a huge Washington fan now. She was many years ago when I was younger. I never was really into football. I never played football growing up, except at Mammy and Pap's house on the side of the yard where we played. But growing up in a household with the game on every Sunday, I kind of didn't have a choice. I started following the Redskins at the time and kind of got hooked into it, started getting some jerseys. We went to a couple games. And, man, once you go to one of those live games, it kind of hooks you. And ever since then, I've been a Washington fan, do or die, successful or unsuccessful. Lately, it's been more successful, but in the past, it's been more unsuccessful. But they're my team, and I'll always stick by them, as I know you will too. I talked about going to the games a little bit. You have season tickets, right?
Yes, sir. Yep. First year this year was we were able to get season tickets. Luckily, it was kind of an advantage of them being so terrible that the ticket prices had gone down to the point. It used to be years long waiting list or so they advertised, but this year we were able to finally. My buddy Larry and I were able to go and get season tickets together. So we have been to many games, and like you said, when you go into even for all shortcomings that FedEx Field, formerly known as FedEx Field, Jack Kent Cooke Stadium, Redskins. Well, it was never called Redskins, was it? It was Commanders Field for a little bit there, and now it's Northwest. But it feels like home when you're there. It's just something about it when you're there. It just feels like you feel like you're at home if you're a big fan. And I love the new the enhancements they've done to the stadium. Like it feels more like the home of the team with all the burgundy and gold that they have there now, and the experience that's there now is better than it's ever been. So I will say that to them. Kudos to whoever's made those changes. It is the in-game experience is great now.
Speaking of changes to the team, not only the team, they're having success. They have a young quarterback rookie, Jaden Daniels. They have a new coach in Dan Quinn. New coaching all around, really. New management as well in the front office. Dan Snyder's finally gone. They have new owners in Josh. Oh, geez, what's the last name of the
Harris.
owner? Is it sad that
Harris.
I can't think of that right now? Harris, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's really turned the organization around. There's a positive energy now. FedEx Field's not really known to be the best field, probably aesthetically. But like I agree with you. It does kind of feel like you're home. It's a good feeling when you walk in. I haven't been to a game yet with the new features in the stadium, but I'm excited to get to one eventually. Hopefully before they get a new stadium. I heard that's probably in the works here, coming up soon in the next maybe 10 years or so. I hope I can get to the game before then. Jeez.
Yeah, there was some news about RFK possibly being back in play now as of yesterday. I think it was yesterday those news came out that RFK may be happening. And, it sounds like the team officials played it pretty coy. They're like, well, yeah, that's great. But, we may also still choose Virginia or Maryland. And, so we'll see what happens. Personally, I would love it if it was at the National Harbor. I think that would be an amazing location for it. I don't think they're going to go that way, but that would have been an excellent choice if it went that way.
And that would make sense too. It's a touristy area. You're going to get a lot of attraction to that area just on the National Harbor alone. So it would make sense. But like you said, I don't think it would go that way either. I would be okay with the old RFK Stadium site. Kind of has the history there and everything. But like you said, wherever they choose, I think they'll be better. They'll be better off than where they're at now. Nothing against FedEx Field, but yeah, they definitely need an upgrade for sure. They've upgraded everything else. Now it's just the stadium.
Yeah, definitely. Although it's nice though, they actually had a light show at the stadium when we went to the Bears game. It scared the heck out of my wife. They flipped the lights off, said like power failure, and all of a sudden this light show's going on, and then the Hail Mary was a few minutes later. So it was a good little end to that game, and we probably will get. I think I would bet on this that we'll probably have a primetime game. I bet you that Falcons game gets flexed. I would be shocked if that does not have major playoff implications. Excuse me, at the end of the season. So we may get a night game. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Well, and we'll be going up against old quarterback Kirk Cousins.
Yes, and Dan Quinn's old team too. He coached the Falcons. There's a lot of storylines there for that one for prime time.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll do the right thing there with that one.
Yeah, that helps in its favor for prime time as well. Like I agree with you. Yeah, that'd be really cool. And speaking of the changes, we talked a little bit about the old regime, Dan Snyder, and how it's kind of like a poison to the the organization as a whole. It's really changed. You can see it on the field. You can see it with the players. The players seemed more motivated. Winning helps, of course, but even coming out of the gate at the beginning of the season, they looked like a different team. They have a lot of new players. A lot of changes have been made. Who did they just land? They just landed Marshawn Lattimore, a huge upgrade to the secondary, which they desperately need. I don't think he's playing fully this week, from what I read. I think he's kind of a limited snap count type deal coming into the game. I hope he gets some playing time. This will be the game to do it, I think, up against Dallas. So that's my opinion.
But he's in, man. Apparently he didn't practice today. So it looks like it's not trending in the right direction. But that being said, if they need him for that playoff push, maybe he'll be ready in time for that. We'll see. But Dallas looks like they're ready to just roll over and let us beat them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, like you say, like I mentioned to somebody earlier in the day today, going into those games, it doesn't really matter what the record is, whether a team's winless or they have 2 wins. When it's a rivalry game like that, especially a Dallas-Washington game, different teams could show up to the game that day than what you've previously seen in the other weeks. There's a different fire under the players usually. A lot of those players are familiar with each other and they know each other, and it's more fun for them to get into that heated rivalry. So we could see a high scoring game. I doubt it happens, but what did Cooper Rush threw for over about 300 yards the other day? They didn't really turn it into points, but the dude can sling the ball. At least there's that for them. Their running game is horrendous, but
yeah, that's nice to see. It really is.
After so many years, it's about time.
For many years, I felt like my hate of Dallas superseded my love of the Washington football team for a couple years there. It was getting to the point that we were so bad that the best I had was to root against them, and now it's kind of like, well, I'm ready to let that hate go. We get good, and they're terrible. I'm just like, okay, whatever. We'll move on. probably how they feel about us too.
We usually touch base over the game after it happens, and I remember in past years they were always the text messages or the Facebook messages were always, oh, we'll get them next time. They played well, but not well enough. But it's nice to see on your social media now with your Facebook. I love when you post the Victory Monday posts that they share. I really enjoy seeing those, and I enjoy seeing pictures of your son in the gear, and it's really cool. Hopefully, he stays a Washington fan.
Yes, well, I'll be sure of that. But yeah, it's funny. The other day he says to me, "I want a Jaden Daniels shirt for Christmas." He doesn't know it's called a jersey. And my wife just looks at me and glares at me. I'm like, I swear I did not tell him to say that. He picked up on it. He picked up. He knows. He's hearing about the man. Everybody is. He's the star right now. So.
Yeah, he's taken Washington to a level they haven't been at in a while. Now it is a lot on Jaden Daniels' shoulders, but it's as a team all together too. They're really meshing well together. They look decent on the field. The defense is still a little bit shaky, but that can be fixed. Hopefully when Lattimore comes back, a couple people come back from injuries. Speaking of injuries, Jaden Daniels, do you think he's still injured and they're just not saying anything about it? He looked awful on Thursday against the Eagles.
I personally don't think so. I mean, I know Quinn came out and said that he wasn't injured, and obviously he was at some point. The Bears game, you could tell. I think he was wearing some heating pad on his ribs in one of the games. I can't remember which one that was, but I think it's more so just a byproduct of playing tough defenses. I mean, like the Eagles and the Steelers both had a spy on him. I think they were both linebackers, and they just kept a spy on him. They just kept him contained. And, that's a byproduct. And that being said, they didn't get killed out there. They were close. At least catching up with the Eagles. Things got a little out of hand late there, but they had a good game plan against him. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I don't think it was so much that he's hurt as much as it's just that's a tough defense. You're going to get games like that. There's going to be ups and downs. He's not out there throwing a million interceptions or anything. And, I haven't heard anybody else make this comparison, but he reminds me a lot of Alex Smith. Like young Alex Smith coming out of college when the Niners took him, like what they wanted him to be. He's like an Alex Smith with a boost in the Madden ratings and speed and agility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's that kind of thing. He's not gonna throw it up, and he's not Heineke. He's not gonna say Terry's out there somewhere and just throw it up. He's gonna be very calculated. If it's not there, he's gonna throw it away, or he's gonna scramble, or he might take a sack and trying to scramble. But he's reminiscent a lot of Alex Smith in that way. So I don't think there's a lot to worry about. I don't think he's injured, and hopefully we'll get to see a career performance to date against Dallas. That's my hope, is that he'll just kind of open it up and take advantage of their weakened state.
Yeah, I hope so too. Usually going into Dallas week, Washington's usually the underdog, but like you said, Dallas is the underdog here. Obviously, if you haven't been following the NFL, Dallas is struggling on every aspect of the organization. Their stadium's falling apart, their team's falling apart. Jerry Jones is upset about everything, and it reminds me a lot of how Washington used to be. You remember, everybody used to complain about the stadium. Everybody used to complain about Dan Snyder, the owner. The team looked like they were falling apart. It's almost like roles were reversed. Are we in a Freaky Friday?
Yeah. Did you see the Houston Texans trolled Dallas after they beat them? They put like an L, and they used the things that were falling from the top of the stadium.
I did.
My friend and I have talked about. So we sold. So spoiler, you might have had this in your plans. We sold our tickets to the Dallas game here at Washington. That was our agreement going into the season, that we would sell those tickets because we knew they would get good amount of money back on them on the secondary market. Luckily, it's probably a Washington fan that bought them now, as opposed to giving the opposing team a ticket. But now we're debating to going to the Dallas game at the end of the year, and because the tickets for Dallas game, if you've seen it, are like $17 is what the price is to get to the Dallas game against Washington in Dallas. Wow. That's how bad things have gotten. Which is, once again, it's like Freaky Friday, like you said. Like that was us a couple years ago. I mean, even last year, I think we had tickets for $10. I remember I had tickets to the Falcons game like 2 years ago in the pouring rain, and I couldn't get anybody to go with me. I'm like, I will pay for everything. We'll go for free, and we'll go. And like people were like, I'd rather just not go. And took my wife with me, and she was, I still owe her one for that. But Yeah, now look at things. Now that game's going to be a hot ticket. And it's crazy how quickly things have flipped. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I expected them to turn around, when all the changes were made, but I didn't expect it to be this quick. That's definitely for sure. A couple keys, I think, to Sunday in order for Washington to be successful. Don't go in underestimating Dallas. Obviously, you shouldn't go in underestimating any team, really. I doubt any professional football team goes in there thinking, yeah, we're probably going to smack these guys around. They're all high-end professional athletes, whether your team's doing well or not. And I think another key is their defense needs to be consistent. It's like we talked about, Cooper Rush can throw the ball. The running backs aren't bad running backs. It's just the team as a whole that's, not clicking right now. If they come in clicking on Sunday against Washington and, they get some momentum, it could be, a case where you're like, oh, crap, what's happening now? But, yeah, I think as long as they keep their head on their shoulders right, they be consistent on defense, don't make stupid moves, don't take too big of calculated risks, I think we'll be fine. That's just the old Washington fans speaking, coming out, because you always have that gut feeling. It's still kind of there. It's not there as much as the beginning of the season when we were, on that 3-game winning streak where you're like, okay, is it gonna, when's the wall gonna fall down? When's it all gonna topple over? But there's still a little bit of it there. It's always gonna be there with how many years they were, bad. So
yeah. I think the key for me with it, I think this is with every game this year, just based on the style of things. They got to be aggressive early and get up on them big. Like if they get a big lead, then they can bully them. And in certain situations, like the Ravens game, for instance, that was always going back and forth. They never got a chance to get big up on them big and force them to throw, like force Lamar to throw in that situation. Because if you're going to let them run on you, it's going to be a long day. Especially, even looking at the Giants game, they let them run on them, and they kept it closer than they should have. So it's they get up big on them early. I think they'll be able to let some folks go at halftime if they want to and beat the traffic.
Yeah, right. Yeah, agreed. Well, the game is this Sunday at 1. As you said, don't look for Joe there because he sold his tickets. But if you decide to go to the Washington-Dallas game in Dallas, he may be there.
I may be. I'll be Santa Claus at the Titans game, so I will look for Santa Claus at the Titans game.
Oh, there you go.
I'll be there dressed as Santa.
So look for you on TV. Hopefully, even on TV.
We talked about
the other day when my mom was on TV and she had her pom-pom gloves.
Yes, if you go back and watch, if you look up on YouTube and find the when they sang "Hail to the Redskins" after they beat Dallas in the 2012 season, you will see Andy's mom in the crowd. Now, granted, you'll have no idea who Andy's mom is unless you know Andy's mom. Just look for someone that bears a passing resemblance to Andy.
Look for the pom-pom gloves. She had pom-poms on each of her fingers. That's how we found her. That's what we saw first. Because we saw her hands because she's so short. She's just sticking her hands up in the air, and then you could kind of see like this part of her face go by. Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool moment. I've actually seen my one buddy, Wes. Wait, did you go to North High?
I did, yeah.
What's that?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Do you know Wesley Fink?
I know the name. I don't know if I knew him though. I don't remember him personally. I was kind of a loner at North High. I don't think anybody knows me, and I don't know much of anybody. But I definitely recognize the name. So.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm not sure the age difference or the years you guys graduated, but anyways, he's a big Dolphins fan, and he went to a Dolphins game once with his brother-in-law, and we saw him on TV. They kicked a field goal, and we didn't know he was there. And we were watching the game. Me and Casey were watching the game, and all of a sudden, I looked on there and I said, "Rewind that back real quick." And she rewound it back, and I said, "That's Wes and Cameron right there." And you could see him clear as day standing right in the middle. And I texted him and I was like, "You're at the game and you didn't even tell me?" So you never know who you're going to see on national television.
You never know. Yeah, that's how I felt when we were at the. So I have there's a million videos of that Hail Mary catch, and we are in that end zone. Like I've looked at it so many times, and I see people that I was sitting by in that video, and we're like, you can't see my wife and I because we are directly behind the bunch of guys that are jumping up to catch it. So every video I've seen of it, I'm like, trying to freeze it, like, am I there? Do you see me freaking out? But no, but yeah, it's always fun, when you get lower level tickets to try to find yourself on on the TV,
Yeah. Well, Joe, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Thanks for coming on today. It's always good to see you. Always good to talk some Washington football. Hopefully they'll manage to get a win on Sunday. I think it's looking good for them, and hopefully they can turn the season around after their bad loss to the Eagles the other night. That's the team I worry about the rest of the season. We got to play them one more time.
Yeah. The way I'd really sum it up is, none of us expected this, and it's year one of the recalibration, as they called it, and we're going to be playing meaningful football in December and hopefully January, and that's a lot more than we expected going in. So I think
Exactly.
that's being the negativity out there. We're enjoying it for once. It's great. So
yeah, I agree 110%. Well, hey, thanks for hanging out. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Hey, hail to the Commanders.
Hail to the Redskins Commanders. We can say Redskins. We'll say
the
Redskins.
Durs. That's what I've heard. The Durs. Go Durs.
There you go. The Hogs.
The Hogs. That's right.
If you'd like to be featured on the Coach's Corner with Andy, email coach at 921thegoat.com.